Right. So we can look into our dashboard. I'm not going to, you know, put everything in a chart. Only, and that's just me personally doing that. You can decide to, like Mr. Fidelis did, you can decide to, bring everything forward as a chart. It's all right. And because of time as well, so that we can do as much as possible. So I think I would love to chart this, okay? A resolution team, okay? So number of hours service unavailable for by resolution team. So if we go into insert, and I mean, if you don't want to use recommended charts, the chart here you can play around with actually, okay? Not all of them would work the way you need them to work, okay? But again, to make life easy, really easy, just go into recommended charts and, look through which one captures your essence, the essence of what you're trying to show, not your essence, okay? I wouldn't want to use pie chart for this. And that's because you see, we've got quite a few. When you have more than three, okay, more than three categories under here, like we have quite a few items under your resolution team, then pie chart is not really the best, because you can see from what I see here, when I clicked on pie chart, can you see that you can hardly see the other colors? You see the CS admin, the blue one, or CS desktop, one of them, okay? And you can hardly see the rest of the colors. And that's because one, there's quite a few. And two, you see this huge number here. This over 1 million compared to the rest, I think has really been giving us a headache. Okay. And I should have said, this is one of the things you call an outlier, isn't it? Something that's really a data point that's really, really, like really way off. It's not conforming to the rest of the data points. Okay. So this is an outlier, and it can skew your result in the end. Okay. So it's always good to ask around. Could this be a typo? Or why such huge disparity? Okay, so it's good to not just overlook it. It's good to, as part of your data quality um, um, practice now, it's good to find out that this is actually what it is meant to be. Do you understand now? Okay. So let's see what we should do. Can you see, even here, you can see that it's just the big one, and the rest are hardly showing. Okay. I wanted to show us something. This is not the only way that you can present your pivot table. You could make it in a form of matrix. Okay, so I'm going to right click and show field list. This field list, we need it. Remember that we have just been using rows and values. We haven't gone into column and filters and just to see how those work. Okay, so picking this now, I want to see, okay, let's say I want to see this number of hours. I want this split by, I want columns to be split by maybe year. Okay, so if I bring year here, let's see how that splits up. So what it's done is it's created extra columns for us, and it's just divided up those values into 2022 and 2023, you see. So we can easily see that while we have under CS infrastructure support, while we have just 31,000 hours in 2022, it was 2023 that brought the over 1 million, over 1 million number of hours in, you see. Okay. And you can go forward to filter these, add a filter to this. I'm just trying to see what filter should we use? What should we use to filter it? Look through with me, please. Maybe we should go into the data set and see which of these would best filter what we currently have. Should we use a status closed or resolved? Or should we use write up? Or should we use, okay, we can use resolution team if we want. Okay, we can use resolution. Whoever needs this report, they would always tell you exactly what to do anyway. Okay, and we can use infrastructure. Okay, we haven't touched on infrastructure. Now, this is going to be tricky because we've got a few blanks there. So maybe not. Okay, now these blanks, normally it's not good practice to leave them as blank. Okay. I mean, we could have just put something like we could have replaced all these blanks with unclassified, because those blanks were not classified at the end of the day. So maybe let's do that now. If I do a Control H while we are in that column, let me pick it first and then Control H. And I'm looking to remove, find blank. So not zero, blank. And I want to replace it with unclassified. So unclassified, and I'm saying replace all. Okay, so and it has replaced all of that. It's still replacing, but we can see the top ones that are visible to us, that everything that's not, that had nothing in them, every space that had nothing in them, they are now classified. They now have unclassified as their label. Okay, we'll close that. Is it that much? That's still working. I think we are almost there. I think we have about 40 something thousand. Okay, it's not gonna close until it's done. That's fine. We just have to wait. Okay. So every column that's important to the report, we are supposed to ensure that they are all their quality is all properly looked into and resolved. Any issues are resolved before we actually start um, doing the analysis. Well, that is not to say that you can't. I mean, sometimes you just miss certain things, certain data quality issues or any other thing at all, and you just have to come back and resolve and then get back to your analysis. And that's why we say that the process, it's it's an agile process. It's also iterative in nature. Okay, because you're just going to and fro, and most of the time you would actually be discussing your current state of work with your end users. Okay, where you are at the moment, you want them to see, you want to demonstrate to them, um so that they'll let you know if you are on the right track, or if you need to back off what you're doing now and rethink, and rethink it. I don't know why this is taking so long. Abba, it's not normally this. I'm going to have to cancel that. Let's cancel. Abba. Eh? Wow. Doesn't normally take this long. I hope my Excel is not corrupt. If we knew, we would have just picked another column. It's like there's quite a lot of replacing that needs to be done with that. Okay. It looks like, let me pause the recording. Right. So we said not to use infrastructure anymore. Because there's so many blanks within it, you know. And you see how I was dragging and dragging, and we were not gonna even get to the end of it. Also because it means most of the blanks is what we would have within our filter. So most of them will fall under unclassified. So not really a best choice. So I'm thinking let's use client. Okay. So if we filter by client, so I go back into analysis and we carry on with this one where we are showing um how to bring column in. Okay, I'm going to show our field list again so that we see the years. This has been divided into the years, but we want to filter and we say let's filter by client. Okay. So client is here now, and you can see that the filter has been added just just up here. Okay, so all of this is the same pivot table. Okay, all of from clients to there is the same pivot table. And what filter helps you to see is, okay, maybe you want to see this data from from the point of view of client CCC. You can easily pick that and okay it. Okay, and you can see that client CCC, okay, all we have recorded is under infrastructure support. Okay, and those are the values. We don't have anything in 2022, but we do have these in 2023. We have this much. Okay, or if you want to pick more, you can click on this. Say you want to be able to pick, select multiple items. Say I want to look at Milton Keynes department, MKC as well, and okay that. Okay, so I can see client-wise, I can see how many hours services were unavailable for each of the years. Okay, and you can decide to let's unpick those. Select all now. You can decide to turn that around and see if it presents better. What I mean is that maybe we should um put our filter here as well. You can, okay, so that you are looking at, okay, I just want 2022, and I want to see NCT in 2022. Okay, and you get that. Okay, or you want 2023, not 2022. You get that as well. Okay, for NCT. So those are the different ways that you can, manipulate your pivot table to desired result. You can use it to show as much information as possible, such that you are making understanding whatever you are trying to showcase quite easy. Okay. If we decide to, let me clear the filter. If we decide to um, turn these around, leave year here and bring clients here, you see, uh, we've got quite a few. clients, okay? So it means we've divided this up into quite a few columns, as you can see. So we see that CCC, most of the results we're having is from CS infrastructure support under resolution. So resolution team had the most hours services were unavailable for. We can see under each of these clients, okay? WNC was a corporate that brought this much, over 1 million. It was WNC, a client called WNC. So we can easily go to WNC and report, let them know that we've noticed that it's under you that we've got so much hours unavailable for what's happening. I believe these clients would be like third party that we rely on to be able to resolve the issues where we can't resolve it within. Okay, so it's good to, show them with evidence, this evidence that actually they are the ones that are making too much, making the number of hours too high, that services are unavailable for within our company. Okay, and we would change them if they don't do something about it, because this is just too ridiculous. Okay, so yeah, those are ways that we can use our pivot table. Okay, and that's not all. We can also apply what we call slicer. Okay, let's introduce the concept of slicer. So we can click on any of the pivot tables. While you click on your pivot, if I click out, notice up here, the last thing here is Power Pivot. But immediately I click into our pivot table, we see Pivot Table Analyze and Design. Okay, now under Design, it just helps you to format your pivot table in the way, that you may, if you don't want this default setting, I may want this color green or this other color. I may want each of these pivot tables to have their own color just for just to differentiate, to differentiate them. Okay, so that's one thing. There's quite a few styles actually that you can pick from. Okay. So I can decide to have that for my year and so on and so forth. Okay. While we are still within design, can you see you can decide to not show subtotals, show all subtotals at the bottom, show all subtotals at the top of the group. Okay. So I don't think it's applicable to this one. Let's use this. Okay. So if we say do not show subtotals, does that change anything? Okay, we only have grand totals here, sorry. That's me. So let's say off grand total for rows, and it did off it, okay? Off, on for both, it owns this. So if there's a way you want your grand total to show, if you want it to show for only rows, if you want it to show for only columns, okay, it depends on what you are trying to showcase. Okay, now subtotal would have been applicable if we have subs underneath each category, but we don't have that in our data set. So that's why that did not work. Report layout, okay? You can decide where you have repetition happening, okay? Where you have, if this were to be repeated, again, we don't really have a good example for that here, okay? You can decide to change your layout, say show compact or show in outline form. Can you see that changed up a little? So these are just for you to customize your report in the way that you actually want it. Insert blank lines after each item. I've never used that one before, but yeah, Why would you want to insert blank line after each blank rows? Remove blank from, okay, that did not do anything to our data set, but it's there for whoever wants to use it. Row headers, check, uncheck, column headers. Why would you uncheck column headers anyway? We want to be able to see what these are, okay? And when we unchecked column headers there, no, row headers, it just, okay, that didn't really show anything. I thought it was going to remove all these rows here, but it didn't. Okay. Banded rows. Okay, if this looks better for you, it depends on who your stakeholders are as well. What do they want to see? Okay, so if this helps them to visualize the data to make more sense of the data, well, why not? Okay, banded columns as well, if you want that. I think that's too much now. But pivot table analyze. So that was all about design. Pivot table analyze, you can decide to name, this says pivot table 6, but you can decide to change the name of this pivot table. It just gives it a number. You can decide to change the name of this table here. And can you notice it made it one word. So when you are changing the name of the pivot table, don't put space in between, okay? Make it all one word, okay? And this particular, let me choose a simpler one so that the name is not too long. Okay, this one, it says pivot table 3. We can just call it incident category. Okay, so I just come in here and type incident. Is that double I have put? Incident category. Can use underscore if you want. Okay. So that's now the name of that is now incident category. When you click on it, it just gives it that name. Okay. Group on group. I don't think these are applicable to this type of data. Generate get pivot options. Let's look at options. Okay. So if you look at options, it gives you the name. If you want to print layout, okay, how you want the printing to come out. Totals and filters. If you don't want it to show your grand totals, allow multiple filters per field. Okay, these are all just extras. Okay, and the display. Okay, how do you want it to show expand or collapse buttons, show contextual tool tips, display field captions, and so this you would need to play around, with all of these to actually get the best of customizing your pivot table. Okay, but where I'm actually going is this insert slicer and insert timeline. Okay, because even as, let me look for space where we can actually insert slides. Okay, I'll put the slicers here. Okay, so now I'm picking this one. Let's go with insert slicer first. Okay, so let's say you want to be able to, you want to make your pivot tables interactive. Okay, and you can actually choose any of these to slice. Slice is the same as filter, to slice by. Okay, so let's say you want to use status. Okay, so if I click on, you can click on quite a few things here, but to make it easier, I'll just use one. So let's say status, and I okay that, and it brings this, and we know that those are the only two information we have for status anyway. Okay, now what that does is if I click on closed, it should show me the number. These numbers should change to the actual closed, the ones that fall into the closed category. And if I click on resolved, you see, it will change on that. Okay. Now, does it change for all of, we know that it's interacting with it because I use this to create it, okay? But is it interacting with everyone? Now, uh, fix your gaze on this one. Let's see if it would filter this, okay? So if I click on closed, it's still working for this. It's not working for this or any one other one. Result. So you can see that this incident source did not change, year did not change, and I'm sure every other one did not change, only this changed. If you actually want to get it to interact with every one of them, every one of your pivot tables, okay, let me clear that here, okay. What you then do is, you see, when I look at this, because I've clicked on the slicer, it brought slicer to us. If I click out again, that slicer would disappear. Okay, so we have slicer, and I click on there. Again, you can change the name of your slicer like we did before, but there's no need to change the name. That's good for it, status. You can change the design of it to whatever you want. You can change the number of columns. At the moment, it's just one column with 2 rows. So you can decide to have 2. Okay, depends on what you want. Okay, if you want to, it depends on what you are trying to design, and make it appear as so. Maybe you have space on top somewhere there, and this is the way you want it. Okay, so you can do that sort of. You can change the size of it, height, width, and so on here. Okay, but most importantly, remember that it was only interacting with this one because I used this one to create it, but I needed to interact with every other one. So while I'm clicking on it here, I'll go into Slicer, and it is this report connection. So um, let's look at report connection. It's connected to, we can, incident category. So it's clicked. The incident category is clicked, but every other one is not clicked. It's nice to actually name your pivot tables, give them good names, because what's pivot table 1 is quite confusing. Sometimes you don't even remember which one is table 1, table 2. Incident category, now you see, it's easy to see that it's this one that is pointing to. So I'll just check every pivot table that I wanted to interact with. I'll check them. If there is any you don't want to interact, you don't want it to interact with, then don't check it. Okay. So I'll check all of them and click OK. Now I need you to look at as many as you can see. Let me, yeah, as many as we can see here. We can see here, we can see this, and we can see this. So if I click on close, this, I know that changed. This definitely changed. I think here changed as well. Resolved. Yeah. So it's filtering every one of them because I went in to click every one of them. If there is any that you don't want it to filter, we go back into the report connection and we just uncheck. Maybe let's uncheck pivot table 1. I believe that would be this one. So if we click, you see that it's not changing it. It's not changing because that's pivot table 1. Now, if you see the way our pivot tables are jumping up and down each time you click on something. Okay, let me go back and let it interact with this. I know our time is spent. I'll soon stop the class. Okay, you see the way that this is just changing width up and down, and if you want it to be fixed, to not keep jumping or changing in width, each one of them, each time something changes, okay, you can click in the pivot table, go to pivot table analyze, and I believe it's the field setting. Is it the field setting? No, it's not the field setting. Option, let's look at options. Okay, yes, it's inside options. And where it says auto fit column width on updates, let's uncheck that. Okay. For the, I only unchecked for this, remember. Okay, let's uncheck for this as well. Under options, let's uncheck for those two. And then it shouldn't be, those two should be They shouldn't be, changing width when anything changes in them. Okay. So the width in terms of AB, is maintained for each one. The only thing changing is the length, and that's because rows are being filtered out and filtered back in each time. But the length of here to here is remaining, the same. And that's where I believe we are gonna have to stop tonight. Let me stop